Going? Hey, next forecast today is March 3rd, Thursday, all across the land. We'll talk about different stuff today, as always. Today, I just want to talk about building syndicates. This is the real juice, kind of like Grant Cardone's built for a long time. This is where the real juice is at. Buy apartment buildings, you can buy apartment buildings and have the money to pay down, get your deals funded, mortgage people. Or you have private funders what down 25-30% every time. Grant Cardone does this special group. He's probably got 160, 70 people that pay 50 grand a year to do it. It's worth it because he might even have 300 or 400 for all I know. I know last time he was talking about like 200 plus or somewhere up in there, or 180 or whatever. But anyways, this is kind of the ultimate. Me and my cousin had this for a while back then, before 2008 and afterwards for a little bit until things really crashed out. But building the cash investor is really the biggest deal, especially if you have some properties. And I'm on properties. I'm talking multifamily buildings, or you've got commercial build, that kind of thing. Land, not so much. Houses, not really so much, because they're not as good investment. Those are kind of a so-so deal. But the apartment buildings are the Rolls Royce of real estate. Hotels are so-so too. Hold on here. Oh, it's kind of froze when it does that. Anyway, we got perfect weather here, so kind of lame when it does that. But anyways, so build a syndicate. Essentially, you have, if you're an investor, because you have some investors, people with some money that you can go to, and they can put money in you can have money put in a separate escrow or whatever, kind of an IOLA account. Get an attorney hold it, or you do it. It's a good thing to have. You just build it out and everything's, and you have limited partnerships on it as an LLC, or you talk to your accountant. I'm just giving you suggestions. You have an LLC set up or partnership on it, just depending on how you do it. But that's up to your tax accountant, your real estate attorney on that. You go up, you set up the trust, or however you set it up, or limited partnership, or some type of LLC, usually with a limited partnership. And or you have a lawyer set it up, and basically you have money going, using it for deals to basically put his money down, then you get it funded by a bank. I'm just kind of going, not getting into real tons of detail, but it can be set up that way, and there's different variations on it too. But the thing is, you can set it up where you got different people. So let's say you got 20 people in, 200,000, 250,000, and then you've got yourself a big boy. Some investors putting 500,000 or a million. If you're an investor and you're built out, this is the way to go. You're using other people's money to do the down payment. You get finance. The more they put down, the less amount you have to find for you, and they get ownership of it. And then however you set up every 90 or 120 juiced out, or every 12 months a year, or however you set up your partnership with that. It's something you talk over with your accountant and attorney and financial advisor, however you set that up. But this is a good way to go to build it out. So as you start building relationships and that, and I'm starting to look at it right now with me, and then this and that. We're starting to read all this stuff again because of investors and people in the past. And start building that, because we already owned and doing it and had all the stuff. So basically, I want you to think about that as something, as a way to build something out, because this is where the real juice is at. This is how you get rich, and where people really kill it. This is why Grant Cardone bought his Gulfstream 650. The 700s haven't come online yet, but the 650 is the newest one. Came out in 2018, 2019, right in there. 650, surpassed a 550, 450, 250. And then the 700, they just did some test flights on, newest of the new. until they have this 700 basically for people to buy. But it's still cool because what he's able to do, he's had a bunch of properties he's had for a long time to he was able to go ahead and out that he had for a long time and basically take that and use it. So he paid off his investors, did his thing, refinanced it because the rates are still low, and he worked it. So that's the ultimate there, because refinance is a big name of the game. If you have a house that you had in a nice area, you know what I mean. Let's say you had a house remodel that you've had it for a hot area. That house probably doubled, triple, quadrupled in price. We finance it up to 80 per run it out and still make a profit on it. So, that's where the real juice is at, because I've done that over and over again. This is how me and my cousin made a lot of money, besides doing all kinds of other deals and flips and crazy stuff. But refinancing, because there's no, depending on how you buy a house, there's generally no taxes on it, usually about zero. Property, a little bit different. Apartment, different. So we got to talk to your tax accountant about it, or your tax attorney, and how you have your LLC or Chapter S Corp, or however you set it up. I even set up as an LLC. Better way to go. But Chapter S might be a better way to go too, and other different ways that you need to do it. That's your tax accountant or your tax attorney advisor too. But anyways, so this is a real Rolls Royce of real estate. This is like the king stuff, is being able to build syndicates of cash. The syndication thing is the way to go, because you have all these investors, because they're getting a piece of the action. It's better than the stock market, hedge fund, advisory group, and you have an inside info on stuff. You can get that legally, but just inside info, like they get to play the market, because it's a rigged game. But real estate, a little bit different, not as rigged. It just doesn't work that way. So there's opportunities there, especially if you're an investor, or you might be a real estate agent too, looking to become an investor. Here's the problem about mortgage brokers: they only own property generally, and that's it. And they don't have any rental properties. I remember this one guy when I started in real estate. This old guy, he's like 63 or 4, 25. So, anyways, I sat by him. I don't know if he's right now, if he's probably 85, 86, 84. I saw him a few years ago driving by in Seattle when I was there visiting. Anyways, but this guy said, he goes, you can't be in the real estate game unless you own some real estate. And I kind of took that to heart and understood what he meant, because he owned, when I was talking, he already owned 140 properties, and I think 60 or 70 of them were apartment buildings, other fourplexes, triplexes, duplexes, houses, and he was flipping stuff all the time, and he was making money. He already real estate anyways. He won anywhere from 5 deals a month, but he understood everything about finance, how it worked. And, he understands the deviations between apartments and that. But he started in the early 60s after he got out of college with his uncle, and they kept buying apartment buildings and flipping them, and kept them. So he had a bunch of apartment buildings already paid off. So he had a lot of cash coming in every month. So pulled everything up into a trust later on down the road. So, and he lived pretty cheap. He that's how he's brought up in the Depression era stuff. So, and he had quite a bit of knowledge, but very much he was just one of these guys who was most of the time. So, but still, but if you're a real estate agent, something for you to think about, mortgage broker, you need to start buying some properties. One thing I didn't like about like the $1 million listing in LA, they had the two brothers on, but the thing is, actually, and there was other people too, excluding this one guy on the show. I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, but the two, there was him, brothers, and a couple other guys poured away, and they actually do commercial. They don't really talk business. The book, they talk about the Josh Altman dude. But yeah, I mean, they're hitters. They do a lot. They're, in the company, they're in their area, they're top dogs. But in the beginning of the show, I remember when it went back, I used to walk here and there to see things, but they didn't have any real estate that they owned. So they were talking, but they had no real estate that they owned. And it was kind of lame. I mean, I know they were making a lot of money until they finally got a house, probably on a bunch of rentals now, but for a while that wasn't that way. And also too, some of the other people on the show too didn't own any real estate. Now there was one guy I remember was really, really rich. He came from a rich family, so he already had a bunch, so he could stuff up. I can't remember the guy's name, but and that was the same way with the New York one and the Miami one. I just remember that kind of stuck out. You had these real estate agents out there selling stuff and doing this great, but they didn't own any property. So in '96 is when I got my first property on a pre-foreclosure deal. So like I said, these I'd only been in it not a year until I got my first property, but because I started on the phone and worked my way up. But as a real estate agent, when investors, you want to build your own syndicates too, to build it out, and also too, as an investor, you want to build it out, as you're building, especially for commercial, when it gets down, because that is the Rolls Royce for real estate. Keep renting them out, or do what I've done before. If you got them and flipped them into, made them condos, which is basically a cool way to do, because you can make a lot of money doing that, and that's just another way to make renting the stuff out. Or who knows, maybe you buy an apartment building, it's got a lot of land on it, and you split property and you sell it off, or you can build your own damn apartment building through it. So these are things to think about as far as that goes. There's a lot of opportunities in real estate to make money, but building cash syndicates is the real juice of real estate. If you're an investor, this is kind of where things go. And you might be an investor that has the money, you don't need anybody else because you're a multimillionaire. I'm all for it. But there's a lot of people out there that are building it. So I like Cardone's thing he built out, because when he talks about it on his call, he has all these people, but he has tons of investors that are multimillionaires who've got money, and he has the right funders there that can do the stuff. Kind of like me, I've got a lot of that can get doing the stated loan, occupieds, fix and flip, and also to up to 85% within. It's that cool stuff. It's for commercial stuff, even some residential stuff. If it's residential, it's got to be $1 million plus. But like I said before, building out your syndicate, having the investors that go to get the money because they know you've done a couple buildings and people know that you've done it, then and you talk to more people. It's good. And as you go into your parties, or you're meeting people at restaurants, bars, whatever you're talking to them, or your circle of people around, as long as you're on the up and up, and you got the attorney in place and the accountant, you got your real estate attorney, you got your tax accountant, you got all the corporations set up, you've got everything set up, everything written up, have your attorney write it, telling exactly how you're going to do it, what you're going to do, and being able to talk about it and say, here's a book, here's the investment thing, this is how we're going to do it, and you just start building it out. There's some other companies that are looking for seasoned investors, and you see them online, you see them on doing television commercials nationally. There's a couple companies I've seen it that are building syndicate, and they're getting regular folks to come in and do it, and all they do is buy apartment buildings and some commercial buildings. And so it's a cool way to go, because they're making money. This is some stuff for you to think about. Also too, there's another article about bursting bubbles. Again, this just keeps coming up over and over again. And who knows, eventually it's going to burst, and the real estate market's going to sour, and it actually the market up. So a lot of the high end areas, it'll drop them like a rock. But that's okay, because it's going to do that. It's been going up too high for too long, and the market's too saturated, and the rates are too low. So the rates, they need to knock them up a couple points, not right away, but a half point here, a quarter point here, or half point there, moving up to get up to about 6%. and that'll take some of the sales. Excuse me, because it's about 4% now. It'll take some of the sales out of it. There's a lot of cheap money around, and so it'll make the markets better, and also to more opportunity for buyers to buy because they're expecting a 10% raise. But the thing is, there's a bubble that's ready to burst, so it's kind of you can only go one way or the other. Eventually, everything that goes up is going to have to down. It's just the law of gravity. So, but anyways, you got any questions? Go to nickforecast.com, or go to Facebook at Nick's Forecast if you have any questions, comments. And you guys have a great day. Make some money. There we go.